Welcome, officers from the NBN by video conference. I understand you've had your board meeting today, so thank you very much for making the time in your day to come and talk to us. We do very much appreciate it. And welcome Mr. Stephen Murray, the Chief Executive Officer. Would you like to make an opening statement today?
I would, but I'll be very brief, Chair. Okay. But actually, I'd like to start where you are, and that's just to thank the committee for enabling us to do this by video conference. We do appreciate allowing us to do that. We, as I think you know, we take our appearances at estimates very seriously, but due to commitments we did have, we couldn't be in Canberra itself tonight. So thank you for your understanding and the flexibility you've given us. I have with me tonight Catherine Dyer sitting beside me, our Chief Operating Officer, Gavin Williams sitting opposite me here, who's our Chief Development Officer for Regional and Remote, and Will Irving to my right, who's our Chief of Strategy and Transformation. So as I said, I will be brief, but I want to start by emphasising the importance of fast and reliable broadband. The NBN network is the connectivity tissue to our economy and our society. And I say that because it connects students to teachers, it connects customers to businesses, employees to their work, patients to their doctors, and of course connects friends and families wherever they are in the world. And our national broadband network with near ubiquitous access right across what's actually one of the largest nations on earth, as we know, does set Australia apart, which is good for our economy, for regional communities, and all of us in our daily lives. But of course, technology is moving fast, Senators, and we need to make sure that the network continues to meet the growing and indeed the changing digital needs of people right across Australia. So that's why we're moving quickly on our Fibre Connect program to push fibre deeper into the network, making our highest residential speeds available and delivering reliability of fibre to more people. Yesterday, we announced the latest suburbs and towns where more than 1 million additional homes and businesses currently served by fibre to the node will be able to upgrade to fibre to the premises on demand. And once construction is completed in the suburbs and towns announced yesterday, customers will be able to order a higher speed service which will trigger a fibre upgrade. So there are now more than 1.3 million FTTC and FTTN premises, so fibre to the curb and fibre to the node premises, that have progressed through the design and construction. And we're starting to see a strong flow of orders for fibre upgrades in these areas. We remain on track, I'm pleased to say, to make NBN's highest residential wholesale speed tiers available to 90% of the fixed line network by the end of 2025. We're also making, I can report, good progress on a $750 million investment with the Australian government, which is designed to deliver significantly faster speeds for many in regional areas. So in early October, we enabled more than 1,000 homes and businesses in the satellite footprint that do not have an NBN connection to be able to move into our fixed wireless footprint. These customers can now order an NBN fixed wireless service via a participating retail service provider. And we're aiming to migrate even more premises from satellite to fixed wireless over coming months, and again we're on track to deliver this program by the end of 2024. A fortnight ago I joined the Minister for Communications and the CEO of the Smith family for the launch of the Australian Government's School Student Broadband Initiative, and this is a great example of how NBN is working to lift the digital capability of Australia. There are 9 retail service providers signed up to this initiative to provide a year of free broadband for up to 30,000 Australian families with no internet at home. And we're also working with state and territory education bodies, with charities and community organisations who will identify eligible families and support them to access this service. And finally, Senators, I want to mention our ongoing work with the ACCC and the industry on the Special Access Undertaking, or what we call the SAU. The SAU sets out, amongst other things, the regulatory framework governing NBN's prices over time and how costs can be recovered. It's very important, in fact, it's vital that the balance is right so there is sufficient revenue to continue investing in the network to support the needs of Australian homes and businesses well into the future. On the 29th of November last year, we lodged with the ACCC our SAU variation and supporting materials. If this variation is accepted by the end of March, we're fully committed to implementing new wholesale prices by 1st of July. If it's accepted after the end of March, we've committed to implement within 3 months of that acceptance date. And the ACCC is currently inviting industry feedback on the SAU variation. And we look forward to continuing to work constructively with the ACCC, with retail providers and consumer advocacy groups towards the acceptance of the proposed variation. And Chair, again, in conclusion, thank you for facilitating the opportunity again to appear virtually tonight, for giving me time to make these opening comments. And with that, I'll pass over to you, and we're happy, I and my team are happy to answer any questions you have. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, and thank you for putting the fibre down my street over Christmas. My neighbours are all very delighted.
Right, we look forward to your order, Sandra. It'll be great.
We will start with Senator Hanson-Young.
Thank you, and thank you for being here today, and I appreciate the reason that you have to be appearing before us virtually.
No, thank you, Sandra.
So you had a board meeting today. Was the issue of community expectations in relation to your bonuses discussed at the board meeting?
The discussion around remuneration was not on the agenda of board meeting today, Sandra.
Has the board discussed the letters that have been sent from the shareholder ministers in relation to the salaries and bonuses of you and your executive team?
Yes, Sandra, and the chair of the board responded to that letter that she received from the ministers.
Mm-hmm. And when do you expect your next bonus, Mr. Rao?
The short-term incentive payments are made in August, Sandra, and it's discussed by the board during the period from, say, May through to July.
Yeah. Looking at the most recent annual report, the 2022 annual report, has yourself and your executive team's salaries and bonuses. Surely you understand why people are asking questions about the extraordinary amount of money that you get paid, given the tough times that everyday Australians are feeling right now.
I think, Sandra, the board has always been very keen to lay out a very detailed remuneration report, which I think is what you're referring to, Sandra, on it's in the middle of the report. I think it starts on page 83, I think. So the board's always been desirous of laying out a detailed remuneration report, including a letter from the chair of the remuneration report, which in this particular case also the chair of the board, discussing the various principles around remuneration of company personnel, and also laying out, like you would see in a listed company, various remuneration of executives.
So your salary plus your bonus for the last round was $2.9 million. Does that sound about right?
That's what the report says, Sandra.
Yeah. Do you think that's within community expectations?
Sandra, I have in these hearings in the past, I've been asked to comment upon my remuneration arrangements, and that's not a matter for me to comment on. That's a matter for the board to comment on, Sandra.
Do you expect to get a a larger bonus this coming August?
The short-term incentive plan, Senator, this year lays out some targets for the company, and we will see as we get to the closer to the end of the year where we sit within those short-term incentive arrangements.
And what about the rest of your What about the rest of your executive team? $1.5 million in bonuses for the last financial year.
Well, again, that includes me, Senator. So, as I said, I don't wish to comment on myself. But if you look at the arrangements for the executive team, you will see that the short-term incentive plan and its components, indeed remuneration in general, is laid out very clearly in the remuneration report. The way, not just the quantums, but also the breakup between fixed pay and short-term incentive payments are the philosophy behind that are clearly laid out in the remuneration report.
What's the average wage of what's the average wage of workers at NBN Co?
I don't have that with me, Senator. I'd have to take that on notice. I'll see if we can get you that during the hearing, but I doubt we have that exact answer to the question. We're certainly happy to take that on notice.
Most of the staff that you're responsible for, that you lead, would be on a lot less than $2.9 million, wouldn't they?
The staff within NBN, Senator, have a very large range of experiences, qualifications that you'd expect. So we have, for example, cybersecurity experts that protect not just NBN, but actually protects downstream people within Australia. We have engineering experts with people with doctorates. We have IT experts. We have experts within operations. All of which, Senator. Sorry, I should also say we've got finance and treasury experts. We're borrowing the largest amount of any corporate company. So we have a range of very strong skill sets we need within the organisation.
What about the people who are actually out there doing the grunt work, laying the fibre, responding to the complaints of the fact that customers can't ever seem to be able to get a stable NBN. The NBN was promised and then it's well behind schedule. They're still paying a mint, but the service is slow. I mean, those people, those staff at NBN Co, they're not the ones on the big pay packets, are they?
Well, Sandra, I don't agree with your categorisation of the performance of the company. But leaving that aside, once again, we've actually just done, and Historic can talk to this if you like. We've actually done a significant amount of work in terms of remuneration arrangements of people in the field, which I think is what you're referring to, who are extremely valuable employees of NBN and indeed employees of delivery partners who work for us. And I can assure you that we are very aware that those individuals need to have what we call fair pay, and we have ensured that's the case.
$2.9 million is an extraordinary amount of money for anyone, let alone in the times that we are in right now, and for a government-owned company. And do you honestly think that you're worth $2.9 million?
Again, Sandra, I'm sorry to be repetitive, but it's not for me to comment upon my remuneration arrangements.
Well, would you do the job for less? Well, would you do the job for less?
Sandra, it's not for me to talk about my remuneration arrangements. I'm sorry.
I mean, have you discussed with the board whether these salaries that are so obscene should continue at the levels they are, given the stagnant wages of everyday Australians, the rising cost of living, interest rates going through the roof, and the fact that you are a public company, a community company, a taxpayer-funded company?
Senator, there's again, if you leave me out of it, but the principles around remuneration again are laid out in this very detailed report and has been for years. The expectations of the board is very much around the community expects that they can work from home, that they can educate the children from home, that they can have medical appointments, that they can run their small business, they can continue to communicate with friends and families, and that was very much the case during the COVID period, for example, whereby there were so many people working and living from home, and large pressure on the telecommunication networks in general, not just NBN, but also our partners and the retailers. And we as an industry are very proud of how we supported the community during that period. In terms of remuneration, the principles are, Senator, that we need to ensure that we can attract individuals who will be able to do all the things I talked about, the cyber security, the operations, the engineering, supporting a network for Australians, and those individuals are in very high demand. So we need to ensure that our remuneration arrangements are such that we're able to attract and retain people to operate what is critical infrastructure. Quite right, Senator, owned by the Australian government. We're proud of the fact they're owned by the Australian government. And we make sure our remuneration philosophy is not then to pay at top of market, it's to pay at median, Senator. And so therefore we need to be able to attract people, but a lot of people work at NBN, Senator, because of the higher purpose that we have, which is to support the community and support the social fabric of the country and the productivity benefits that will be driven by high-speed broadband. And we are determined to continue to upgrade our network and continue, as data needs grow, to have that support for the community. So since the remuneration strategy, as laid out in the remuneration report, is to ensure that we can attract people who are able to provide that service, manage the business, but also to do all those things that I talked about.
Well, to be fair, the Prime Minister doesn't get paid this much. The head of the Health Department doesn't get paid this much. The head of the Federal Education Department doesn't get paid this much, and neither do their staff. They don't get $700,000 in bonuses. And so I hear you arguing about you need to be able to attract, the NBN Co needs to be able to attract the best. Well, this is a public company, a government entity, and there is a different standard and different expectation and different value on whether you're doing it because it's in the public interest, not just about the pay packet you get.
As I said, Senator, the board, again, leave me out of it, but what the board does is it looks at the executive remuneration. It does an annual review of comparator companies, including other GBEs, but comparator companies, and it ensures that the remuneration arrangements for the executives are at a level, not at the top of the market, to your point, for exactly the reasons you described, but are at a level that can attract people who are able to organise, who are able to manage and operate a critical infrastructure for this nation in a competitive environment. And that is as I said, that's laid out very clearly in the annual report.
Mr. Wu, what did you do to deserve $700,000 as a bonus?
Well, again, Senator, you're asking me to comment upon my remuneration arrangements, and that is, sorry, Senator, it's not for me to talk to those. That is for those who set my remuneration arrangements to talk to. It's not for me to talk to. I haven't done it in the past, Senator.
Have you asked for more?
Last question.
Senator, my arrangements, once again, you're asking me to comment upon my arrangements, and that is
Point of order, Chair. Point of order.
Yes, Senator Henderson.
Chair, point of order. Look, the CEO of NBN is required to answer Senator Hanson-Young's questions. she has asked a reasonable question. What was he required to do to earn his bonus of $700,000?
Thank you, Senator Henderson.
It's not appropriate for him to deflect the answer.
Thank you, Senator Henderson.
So, Senator, I'm not deflecting the answer. I'm simply saying it's not for me to talk about my arrangements. The remuneration report lays out the...
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Senator Henderson, thank you. We've taken your point of order. Thank you very much. I wonder if you would like to consider some pages out of your annual report which lay out some of your targets and such like, and maybe you could walk through some of those in terms of answering the question.
I'm sorry, was that you, Chair? I can't...
Yes, sorry. Yes, it is.
No, not a problem. So if you turn to page 91 of the remuneration report, you will see the short-term incentive corporate measures for fiscal 22, which talks about connected premises, customer service delivery, trust and reputation, transformation, financial stability, and you'll see under that the actual performance as judged by the board, and you'll see under that the outcome of the short-term incentive plan, which was at 66% of maximum, and you will see detailed in the report the board's considerations of coming to that conclusion.
Well, I think it's hard to argue that $700,000 in bonuses is appropriate at a time when everyday Australians are struggling, when mortgages are through the roof, when most people in those situations are trying to weigh out whether they can afford the internet bill they're paying or that keeps coming in month by month. So I understand the position you are in, but I think it is grossly unfair to sit there and say that, oh, well, nothing to do with me, when you're sitting on $2.9 million a year. Right.
Thank you,
Chair.
Senator Hanson-Young. We'll now go to Senator Hughes.
Thank you. I've just got a couple of really quick questions. Well, I hope they're quick and you have the information. What has been the impact of Starlink on the rural and regional business for the NBN?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. Gavin, Mr. Williams is best placed to answer that.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, so, I mean, Starlink, low Earth orbit satellite, new technology, it's certainly gained some interest in regional communities. I mean, you'd need to ask them what their performance is in terms of take-up. I'd assess it as having so far a modest implication on our Sky Muster satellite in terms of, as a matter of record, we publish our Sky Muster active premises, and they've declined by about 10,000.
So they've declined by 10,000.
So.
Sorry, Sky Muster's declined. Yeah, I'm to be honest with you, I'm surprised only 10,000 people have left Sky Muster, because the service levels compared to Starlink are just, that it is out of this world. And, you know, I lived on a property 80 k's west of Moree, and we had 3 internet services so that we could open emails. My kids had never had access to a video game, more's the pity, because the Sky Muster absolutely provided no width at all for anything other than very, very basic access. Yeah. And a couple of weeks, you know, and that was a few years ago. But, you know, I spent a lot of time around rural and regional New South Wales in particular, and people that have moved to Starlink have huge plan, like huge width, speed. I am absolutely shocked you've only lost 10,000 people, because the services just don't even compare.
Can I? Well, I think that there's a number of there's a number of attributes to service, Senator.
Sorry?
One thing that Starlink, there's a number of attributes to service, and one thing that Starlink does, it charges an upfront charge, which is a fair bit to some families, and a monthly fee, which is substantial for some families. There's probably 3 other service characteristics that are relevant. One would be download speed, another is latency, and a third is plan size. Now, in terms of download speed, it's true, there's readily available reports of Starlink offering speeds. I think they claim speeds at least 50 megabits per second, but you can hear many reports of significantly higher than that. The Sky Muster service Sky Muster Plus service offers speeds up to bursting above 25 megabits up to around 50 megabits. So if your personal experience wasn't that, then I'd suggest, and if your constituents have got experiences that don't reflect that, my encouragement to communities when I go out and talk to people is raise a ticket with your service provider, because it sounds like there's something not right. Then there's the plan size. So currently Starlink offering unmetered, uncapped accounts. That's not something that so far we've been able to do with Sky Muster being a capacity constrained network. We've got 2 satellites in the sky that we've needed to accommodate for 7.7 million square kilometres and a notional premises footprint of 400,000 eligible services. But what we did on the 1st of July is increase the timeframes that we offer unmetered traffic from midnight to 3 p.m. So during the workday, you can go nuts on video, or any time of day. You can Zoom, and it doesn't contribute to your allowance for Sky Muster Plus. So the allowance that
what's the difference between Sky Muster and Sky Muster Plus?
The simple way of thinking about it is basic Sky Muster is from NBN's point of view, it's like a dumb pipe where we don't know what's travelling through the pipe. In the case of Sky Muster Plus, it's a smart pipe that we're able to better manage the customer experience.
But what I'm trying to understand is, do families sign up to Sky Muster or Sky Muster Plus, or
Yeah, just in the same way, with the same retailers.
But so it's a different plan. So the families with Plus would pay more?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's a different pricing, yes.
Yeah.
So typically the dollars per gigabyte is lower on average.
But it's
so anyway,
Plus.
That's Sky Muster Plus is, and then the bit that Sky Muster can't change is the laws of physics. The Sky Muster satellites are 36,000 kilometres above the Earth's surface, and the Starlink low Earth orbit is significantly lower. So your kids keen on gaming, by the time you've pressed the shoot 'em up button on a Sky Muster, and it takes half a second to come up and down from space, that means for those time-sensitive games, it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
So look, on balance, I'm excited that the technology that's included in Starlink and the other low Earth orbit constellations that are being rolled out or planned, I'm delighted that they've been invented, because 3 years ago this just wasn't the case. It's made enormous progress and there's been significant investment.
So will that make Sky Muster, basically obsolete within a period of time? Because obviously the more people that go onto Starlink, the more affordable it will come, and it is chalk and cheese in comparison of products. There are people in rural and regional areas that don't have any streaming services, for example, because they have no access to internet that can handle that, and then they get to Starlink and they can have whatever they want. Is Sky Muster going to become obsolete?
So Senator, a few things. I mean, the Sky Muster Plus is important, and I'm really pleased you asked, because that is an important message to get out to your constituents, because that does provide the ability for streaming that you talked about. Secondly, the fixed wireless program, the $750 million co-investment with the government I talked about, part of the real advantage of that is it actually takes, of that 400,000 footprint Mr. Williams was talking about, takes 120,000 of that off that onto a fixed wireless service that can deliver speeds of up to 350 megabits per second. So that's actually going to provide a way better service even than one you're talking about with Starlink. And at the end of the day, our satellites will eventually run out of fuel. Which is why Mr. Williams is pleased that the technology continues to move on. But Sky Muster absolutely continues to have real provide real benefits to many people in rural and regional Australia. We continue to develop the products. I'm sure Mr. Williams' team will continue to improve the service.
Senator, there's some myths around Sky Muster that it doesn't support streaming video. It does.
It does.
I use it all the time. There's some myths that...
I would have loved to have invited you to my place to try it out because, yeah, okay.
And if it didn't work, the next visit would have been from one of our technicians. And that would be my encouragement.
Try getting them 80 k's west of Moree or 40 k's or 60 k's, you know,
Senator,
east of Cooma.
We cover 7.7 million square kilometres.
No, I know where you cover. Try getting a technician.
That's what we do every day.
We do every day.
All right.
Seriously, Senator, if there's, I mean, we'd be happy to take any representations through your office.
Yeah.
If we're not doing a good enough job, if the service isn't doing what it needs to do, then our job is to fix it.
Yeah.
And we do have techs that can come out, that will come out to your site wherever you are, not just west of Moree or Coona or wherever. We go to the middle of nowhere and outback stations. We do that because that's our job, and that's not something that Starlink does.
All right. Well, look, I'm going to pass to Senator Cadell if I can. He's just got one follow-on. But, you know, I just appreciate you didn't refer 80 k's west of Moree to the middle of nowhere.
Self-interest follow-on from that. I had NBN fibre and we were having problems with, in rain, our whole street. We live in a village of about 2,500 people and I've had to go to Starlink on this sort of stuff, and it says I can qualify for 100 megabits per second, signed up for that, getting 40, good ping, and so I've had to keep that for, as you say, the kids gaming, because Mitchell likes nothing more than pinging someone on a World of Tanks. But I'm getting 120 ping on Starlink, I think 40 on NBN. Where are the maps on the rollout of the fibre on demand? What are you talking about? Numbers of residents? Are they capital cities? Are they regional? Are there maps available of where that rollout is?
So as we've been announcing the various suburbs, that information is available on our website. In relation to the more granular boundaries, if you like, we release those literally much closer to the time that we activate the network. The reason for that is in construction, we do settle the network and the network boundaries. But in terms of the list of suburbs and the sequencing where we're going, that is on our public website.
And Senator, there's a large proportion of where we're upgrading in regional Australia. I mean, Gavin, do you want to talk to that?
Of that entity, there's around 660,000 NTPs and FTTCs to fibre to the premises. So it's, I mean, we're upgrading regional Australia between the fixed wireless and satellite upgrade, the $750 million program that Mr. Rick spoke to, and the work that KD and the team are doing on fiberisation. You add to that the work we've done on business fibre zones. There's been significant, actually, transformation of underpinning telecommunications technology in regional Australia.
Okay. So, Senator, if you want to have a specific question around your constituents or area, please send us the details. My team answer these questions all the time. We're very happy to support you, not just you, Senator, any senator, of course.
Can't do that. I won't do that to you.
Since you asked the question, we're happy to support you with the information that you've asked.
Thank you very much.
I was about to suggest that they both ring your service line,
That's right.
but I think we're okay. We'll hand over to Senator Henderson.
Thank you very much, Chair, and Mr. Rue and others, good evening. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Rue, have you entered into any sort of contract with Mr. Ben Hubbard at all?
Not to my knowledge.
If you could take that on notice and check, that would be appreciated.
In fact, not so. I'm very happy to take that on notice, and certainly hasn't crossed my desk.
Thank you. Have you entered into, since the last election, have you entered into any contract, short or long, or any sort of engagement or employment arrangement with any former Labor staffer at all?
Since May of last year, you're saying?
That's right.
Again, not to my knowledge, Senator, but again, I'm happy to, hopefully I can answer both those questions tonight, Senator, but not to my knowledge, but my team will tell me if that's the case.
Is there anyone around the table now who could tell you? I mean, we've just heard that Australia Post, without a tender, has contracted Ryan Liddell, the former Chief of Staff to the former Leader of the Opposition, Mr Shorten. You don't have a contract with Mr Liddell or any other former Labor staffer at all?
Not to my knowledge.
All right, if you could take that on notice, I'd be really grateful.
No, I'm happy to send it. I'm hoping to not just take it on notice, I'm hoping to answer you tonight, but I'll if I can.
Thank you very much.
Mr Rue,
Thank you
while
very
you're there,
much.
maybe you would like to see if you've employed anyone else who worked for a political party ever, noting, of course, that they all deserve to earn a living. Senator Henderson?
I'll take that as a comment, Chair.
Indeed.
Look, I do have the call, so I would just like to ask a few more questions if I could. Mr Rue, I just want to pick up on the excellent questions of both Senator Cadell and Hughes. And I have to say, I also raise very similar concerns about Starlink. There are so many farmers in regional areas who are really struggling with Sky Muster. Now, of course, under our government, we put a very significant investment into upgrading satellite and also fixed wireless, and that will make a big difference, as you say. So it's a $480 million commitment from the coalition, the $700 million in total. But for many farmers, for many people living in regional communities, Elon Musk is running rings around you.
Is that a question, Senator? Because again, Mr.
Yes, it is. So what are you, the question is, what are you going to do about it? Because Sky Muster is looking more and more obsolete technology. Elon Musk has rolled out this incredible technology, which is changing lives. I spoke to someone who lives on a property just a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying, you know, it is incredible, the difference. And I am concerned that NBN is not adequately addressing this huge threat to your business in regional communities. And also I raise the question, why are Australians being required to pay the full freight for Starlink when, of course, you have an obligation to provide a workable broadband connection to those families as well?
Yeah, it's not just Elon Musk, Senator. There are also other low orbit satellite companies as well, by the way.
Well, Starlink is the one that's been taken up by many people that I know.
Maybe you can answer that, but also our fixed wireless upgrade.
Yeah, so I mean, one point to make, I think, is that the Sky Muster constellation, these are two of the largest, highest capacity commercial satellites that were available at the time. Yeah. Starlink was not invented then. So when we invested against the expectations at the time and subsequently, we bought leading edge, not bleeding edge capabilities, but frankly the low Earth orbit capabilities, low Earth orbit constellations that have been released and are in view, they were just not in frame. So
yes, and I appreciate that. The technology was not there when, of course, the former coalition government, rolled out Sky Muster in partnership with the NBN. But things are now very different. The technology is moving at a rapid rate. So the question to you is, what are you going to do about it? Because if I was living on a farm in anywhere in the regional Australia, I would be going to Starlink as a first option.
So there's a range of things that we do to eke out every bit of capability of the assets that we have through the satellite and fixed wireless technologies. First of all, with the $750 million investment, the regional upgrade program, it does some very important things to the fixed wireless service. It takes what was a notional benchmark speed floor of 6 megabits per second in the busy hour up to 50 megabits per second minimum, and introduces higher speed tiers.
Can I just interrupt? We haven't got your video on. We can't see you. We don't have your
Yes, we
video
can.
on, and I'm just.
Senator Henderson, we can see them very clearly. I think maybe because
you
you're
can.
dialing
Okay.
in.
Who's the internet with?
I can't see them. Okay. It says video is not currently available because of low bandwidth.
We can see you, Sam.
I am suffering from low bandwidth at my end. Okay.
I assume it's not an NBN satellite connection. So the peak speeds available, we're moving to a peak information rate of 200 to 325, but with a 15% burst on a higher speed tier. So it'll be available over 85% of our fixed wireless network. And it's not the current fixed wireless network that covers about 200,000 square kilometres, which is about the size of the island of Great Britain. We'll be expanding it to the tune of about 120,000 national satellite premises. So today, the satellite footprint of eligible customers sits at about 400,000 round numbers. We'll be reducing that by 120,000 by extending the range of the fixed wireless network beyond its current geographic capabilities. So, that would extend to roughly the size of Great Britain and the island of Ireland.
So there is, Senator, to very quickly answer your question, there is a fixed wireless upgrade which will make a big difference to regional Australia, and also will take, and many farmers who have a fixed wireless, to use your farmer analogy, that has fixed wireless service. That will also enable people to move off Sky Muster to a fixed wireless service. That in turn will mean that there is more bandwidth available per customer because there's fewer people on the Sky Muster service. And the team are working on ways to improve Sky Muster Plus further. On top of that, Senator, we have a $300 million co-investment fund with state governments, whereby we discuss with governments their own policies around regional Australia in their state, and whether they would like to co-invest with us to move services off a satellite service onto a different technology. And again, that fund is available, and we're always open for business to speak to state governments around that. So
are you going to be able to?
And then long term, Senator, we long term, and clearly as the satellite won't last forever, we need to think about ways that we're very conscious that those communities need to continue to be served, and it actually takes a lot of our headspace up actually to make sure we serve the community.
Look, the chair has been kind enough to give me the call because I've got some commitments, so I'm just trying to race through and finish in the next couple of minutes. So thank you again, Chair, for that. Look, I just wanted to raise a quite misleading media release issued by the Minister, Michelle Rowland, on the 13th of February, talking about the expansion of the NBN, in which she says that the list of eligible suburbs announced today contains premises that are still currently served by the outdated and unreliable copper network, a legacy of the former coalition government. Now, I am concerned that the minister is misrepresenting the rollout, which is in fact the coalition's plan. So Labor's promise to deliver fibre to the premise of every house in metropolitan Australia, except for communities under about 1,000. That's now been abandoned by this government. They have now adopted the coalition's rollout model, of course in partnership with NBN. And I just wanted to ask you to respond to the fact that in 2020, our government announced a $4.5 billion NBN network investment plan that is currently giving up to 75% of fixed line premises across regional and metropolitan Australia access to ultra-fast broadband by 2023. So when the chair talks about getting fixed wireless down her street at Christmas time, that is courtesy of our government. So I just want to set the record straight in relation to that rollout.
Senator Henderson, I wonder if you would
ask how the rollout.
We've been listening all day to you go on about this.
Yes.
You lost the election. There is a new government. It's time to move on.
Point of
It's
order,
time to
Chair.
move on.
Chair, point of order, that's not an appropriate interruption. I have the call and it's not appropriate to try.
And neither is it
And-
appropriate for you to cast poor reflections upon the minister either.
No, I am completely within the standing orders, Chair, so it's not appropriate for you to interrupt me as you just have. So I'm just going back to my question. Mr Roux, could you update the committee on that particular rollout, the 75% of fixed line premises, which is expected to be completed by the end of 2023, please?
We are, as I said before, Sandra, I'll leave policy out of this because that's not for me to comment on. But we are on track to deliver, and Catherine can talk to this at length, but let me give you a high-level answer. We're on track to deliver the 75% of the network gigabit capable of, able to order our highest speed tier, to be precise, by December 23, and we're on track to deliver 3.5 million fibre to the node premises capable of ordering our highest speed tier by December 25. Catherine, do you want to add to that, please?
Sure. So just, Senator, in relation to the two numbers that you're talking about, the first announcement in 2020 was around the 2 million premises to be upgraded from FTTN to FTTP, and then the subsequent announcement made by the current government was for a further 1.5 million. So I think the reference that you were referring to yesterday was related to that recent 1.5 million announcement, where the minister was announcing 1 million of that 1.5 million.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
But in relation
No, just to clarify, I was asking about the announcement in relation to the fact that under our government, we delivered in conjunction with NBN fixed line connectivity and ultra fast speeds for 75% of premises, and yes, I understand that that's now gone up to 90%. But I wanted to understand and ask how that is on track, because that work was due to be completed by December 2023.
Yeah, so we're on track for December 23 for 75%, Senator, and we're on track for 90% for December 25.
All right, thank you very much. And just on the fixed wireless and satellite upgrade, the $700 million project, $480 million from the former coalition government, how are you going in terms of the timing of delivering that project?
On track, Senator. The first releases included the upgrade of our Sky Muster plans in July, and the subsequent commitment was around taking what were satellite premises into fixed wireless to enable a lifted experience, to the point that you made just before.
And another major
In my
announcement. Sorry, Mr. Roux.
So I was just going to say in my opening statement, I confirm that we're on track to deliver that by December 24.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roux. And the 284 business fibre zones, are they on track to be delivered?
Well, they're in market, and there's more than that. There's over 300 today.
Over 300. All right, fantastic.
They're in market, and in fact, I encourage all of you senators to, when you talk to your constituents, it's a great product we're delivering. We're pleased with the orders on the enterprise Ethernet through those business fibre zones. It's delivering great services to many businesses across Australia, and that's actually why we've expanded beyond 300 business fibre zones today. Many of which, again, going to the questions earlier, many of which are in regional Australia, by the way, which is the other thing we're doing for parts of Australia.
Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. And again, Chair, thank you very much for your indulgence in extending the call to me now.
Thank you. We'll now go to Senator Payman.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief. Thank you for your opening statement and mentioning that, the government's excellent projects and investment will hopefully deliver fast, reliable and affordable broadband to all Australians. Can you please outline to the committee the Australian government strengthening telecommunications against natural disasters sort of scheme that basically plays a crucial role in strengthening NBN's capabilities to provide that on-the-ground support during an emergency?
It seems to be your night, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Senator. So the program was a multifaceted program that funded a range of assets, as you say, to enable NBN to best support communities in times where they most need it. It included the purchase of 5 what we call muster vehicles. So these are vans that can run off-grid communications through satellite communications, so that people in need can recharge phones, keep in touch or understand where the weather threats and all that kind of thing, and even play Teletubbies on streaming ABC for some respite for the kids, through to co-investing in 40 hybrid power cubes, which we've deployed to some of our hub fixed wireless towers, so that when the power's out, we have access to solar and off-grid diesel and battery. But one of the key proactive elements of that program was the installation of just under 1,100 emergency evacuation centres, so pre-installed off-grid satellite connectivity, so that evacuees can come into these evacuation centres when mobile telephony is out, when fixed networks are out, and again keep in touch with their families and others. And actually, of that circa 1,100, there's about just north of 150 also supporting fire depots and such things. So very welcome investment. We were very pleased to complete that evacuation centre program just before Christmas, and we've seen it in use and seen all those assets in use quite a number of times.
Thank you very much. That's all from me, Chair. Nice and short.
I have a follow-up.
Senator Davey.
On the STAND program, which, as you say, is a highly successful program, and it is designed to assist particularly in post-disasters.
Sorry, Senator, to interrupt. I'm really sorry. We did not hear the start of your question.
Sorry, and it's Senator Davey. I've just stepped in, so I apologise. But I just wanted to confirm we're talking about the STAND program and its success. So can you explain, for those listening at home, the purposes of the STAND program and how it assists particularly in post-disaster and disaster recovery?
Of course.
So I'm not sure part of the previous answer, whether you got the whole answer. So a range of assets, if I'll summarise it again. So proactive installations in evacuation centres right across the country, so that evacuees can go to a pre-designated evacuation centre and have connectivity even when mobile services are down and fixed services are down. Satellite-based services into fiery depots or emergency response depots, so that emergency responders have connectivity when they most need it. It supported vans that are off-grid that can go and support either evacuees or emergency responders. Some elements that I didn't discuss in my previous response was around flyaway kits. So these are transportable units. We've got 12 of those that can augment, and they were widely used, for example, through the Lismore flooding crisis, through to power resilience in the hybrid power cubes, and a range of network assets such as network on wheels, such that an example was when a regional exchange caught fire. We were able to wheel in one of these devices and set it up, and an outage that could have been weeks turned out to be a day or so. So some much welcome uplifting in the disaster and resilience capability in the NBN arsenal, and this for the good of resilience in our network and for community.
And it builds on, because I remember post the Black Summer bushfires, and when I went out, I was out in communities around Cobargo, and I saw the Sky Muster utes out there that were so welcomed by communities who could go and connect and lodge their insurance claims. And this builds on that, but increases the capacity post-disaster. That's correct?
That's correct.
So.
Yes. We learned significantly from that experience, and as you say, with our service delivery partners, we scrambled to get units, satellite installations to the showground down at Bateman's Bay. The owner of the Harvey Norman getting into his store to get some Wi-Fi routers. so that we could cobble them together. So what we cobbled together for benefit at that time, reactively, we were able to put in place a proactive program to set ourselves up such that you don't have to scramble, it's there ready to go.
So the STAND program, which was initiated by the former government, the coalition government, how much did that provide to the NBN? How much did the NBN get out of the STAND program to increase that capacity?
In terms of dollars, Senator?
Yes.
I probably need to take that on notice. I might be able to get the...
That's fine. Take it on notice. And does that program continue under the new government, or was it a program that sort of ceased while still being rolled out, the finalisation of standing up assets, but the funding, does it continue under the new government post the October budget?
Well, we've completed our commitments under the STAND program.
Right.
So the acquittal of that was...
It was the acquisition of assets, essentially,
Yeah.
Senator, and those assets have been acquired.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Davey. Thank you so much for making this work this evening. We do appreciate your time, and we will now let you go back about your business. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you, Chair, and again, thanks for letting us appear by video. It was very good of you, so appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. And I will now call off